country is the only group I have heard about in this country where they were organizing a demonstration and produce rules. What you should do, what you can't do, what you can bring, what you cannot bring. But is it not curious that suddenly the police are directing all demonstrators to the Independence Square? Is that not a fetter on the right?
Say that again, Sam. And so this particular demo, look, the police must give demonstrators the right to go to the Bank of Ghana. They should create a buffer, maybe 100 meters from the bank or 50 meters. But it can be done. In 2014, when Occupy Ghana went to Flagstaff, what happened? Great security.
That these days is becoming almost conventional. That you want to take a demonstration to the Jubilee House. You want to take a demonstration to a certain particular space. The police will say, take a demonstration to the Independence Square. We will ask whoever it is to come and meet you there. Is that something that's anticipated by the law? Is that not breaching the rights?
It's completely breaching the rights. One of the things I mentioned in the beginning, if you remember, is that not only are demonstrations covered under the freedom of assembly, but also freedom of expression. Now, a lot of the times in the choice of a location of a demonstration, where they want to go to, and the choice of the date of the demonstration, these are also intended to communicate other things which are also protected rights under the Constitution. So, for instance, the choice of the Bank of Ghana is not removed from the purpose of the message that is intended to be said. If the idea of Occupy Bank of Ghana is that they want to be able to petition the governor of Bank of Ghana to draw citizens' attention to the failing of the institution, people are entitled to do that. And if we intend to emulate other democracies, whether it's at
the White House
or other seats of government, those places receive the most demonstrations because people want to direct their grievances to persons in authority. So the authority point becomes a central figure of demonstrations. In fact, in Ghana, the historical record that the castle used to be the place where most demonstrations would go to. It's the choice of where demonstrations would happen because it used to be the seat of government. So in 1948, the choice of going towards the castle wasn't a random choice. Secondly, about not only where to go, but also the date. So I'll give an example. We are organizing a demonstration on the 21st of September, Occupy Jubilee House. And we have chosen the 21st of September, which as the day for a demonstration for Occupy Jubilee House. And the choice of the date is not a mistake. It is thought through clearly because it is in Nkrumah that we honor. And the value to oppression is part of the demonstration. That's an expression of what we want to be able to communicate. To ask us to put it on a random day is to deny in essence a particular right without recognizing that other protected or ancillary rights that go with a demonstration.
All right.
And so the practice is something that the courts need to look at, that we are not only, it's not a keep faith exercise, and it's not a place of the police to choose for demonstrators what message they want to send and who to send the message to. If we allow that to continue, we are removing the meaning of a demonstration, and the people might lose interest in it.
Right. My guest in the studio, Mahama Yarga, MP, Boku Central, Mary Awala, other Executive Director, Ghana Integrity Initiative, Amanda Akoko Clinton, Head of Chambers, the Law Office of Clinton Consultancy. Osman Al-Hassan is a lawyer and former Managing Associate of Atuba and Associates. And I begin my very first question, and this is going to be very brief. You go to court on Monday because the police have gone to court and they want to stop you from demonstrating. They are simply respecting the Public Order Act, Section 1, I think that must be, yes, they are simply respecting Section 1(6), which says when you cannot agree on the routes to take and you refuse to postpone, they can come to court and stop you from demonstrating.
Well, I mean, a very good law can be used injuriously by very bad people. The Public Order Act, as the name suggests, is to assist, ensure public order. But clearly, you need to establish that there's a real threat to public order. This is a protest march in which we have not heard one single Ghanaian make a statement that they are going to challenge the protesters, that they are going to organize a counter demonstration. Nobody has said they're going to organize a counter demonstration. So there's really no threat. Secondly, this is a protest march led by members of parliament. And so we're also very interested in a peaceful and orderly march to the central bank and to present our petitions and then to depart peacefully, because our reputations are also on the line. In fact, we'll be watching the police more than they will be watching us. And for every demonstration that I have participated in, we've made sure that the entire march is covered, every angle of it, by our own cameras, so that when there's a problem anywhere, we will all be able to detect who caused it. Because, again, you must always look out for infiltrators. You must look out for, sometimes the infiltrators can actually be, sponsored state security actors. So you can't assume that all the people wearing uniforms and standing there, mean well for the demonstrators. So we'll be watching them more than they'll be watching us.
They say there'll be too much of traffic problem, the place is already congested, and the Bank of Ghana is a security installation, so to speak. The law says if they have reasonable grounds to believe that the event, if held, may lead to violence or endanger public defense, public order, public safety, public health, or the running of essential services, or violate the rights and freedoms of other persons, they must request the organizers to postpone the event to another date or something to the effect. If you don't agree, they should go to court and seek to prohibit it.
So far, I've demonstrated that there's no evidence that there will be threat to peace and security.
They talk about terrorism. They talk about the wave of coups in recent days in Africa.
I was going to come to that. But can you imagine that the Ghana Police Service is telling us that because of a coup in Niger, a country that we don't share border with, because of a coup in Mali, which happened about 2-3 years ago, and because of a coup in Guinea, which happened several years ago, maybe they want to add Gabon. I'm sure they want to add Gabon, which is in what, Central Africa, so far away from us. Many people in Ghana, where Gabon is located. You see, because of all these, a fundamental right of Ghanaians to express their views about the mismanagement of their financial sector by their central bank cannot be exercised because there are coups in other countries. For me, this is very, very serious indictment.
They didn't say you shouldn't.
This is an indictment.
They said, don't use this route. We'll give you different other routes to use, and then go to the Independence Square and present your petition.
I was in the meeting with the police. They said that because of these reasons, terrorism and military coups, we could not march through Makola Market. We could not march through Opera Square. We could not march through Rollins, Park. I pointed out to them that not many years ago, I participated in demonstrations in which we marched from Obrasport Circle through Makola Market, through Opera Square, by the same central bank that today they think we cannot march to, and we terminated at Harts Park. So clearly, we have done this before. We've done this severally. What has happened today? What has degenerated about the Ghana Police Service that they cannot police citizens to march along the same routes that they could march through several years ago? If anything at all, these past demonstrations should serve as experience for the police service in how to police people to march along those same routes. So if you could do this several years ago, why can't you do it today? There are precedents. Those same places that say we cannot march through, we've marched through them before. So clearly, these are not their reasons. In fact, at the first meeting, which was the only meeting really, they wanted us to rather start at Obra Sport to Adabraka, take the 10 on the left to TUC building, pass by City House, and terminate at Independence Square. We said, okay, you are so concerned about us going to the Bank of Ghana head office. Do you know City House's Bank of Ghana head office annex? And they were sitting there. We said, see, so you claim you know what are security zones in this country, but you want us to go to City House, but you don't want us to go to the Bank of Ghana head office. If Bank of Ghana head office is a security zone, then City House is also a security zone. But you have no problem with us going to City House.
Okay.
I was in the meeting. So we told him that so far, all that you've said do not establish any of the grounds in the Public Order Act. You haven't established a case of threat to public peace, security. There's nowhere in Accra that you carry out a demonstration and it won't affect traffic. In fact, when they proposed to us to start from Obra Sport and terminate at Independence Square, we said, look, why do you want to inconvenience the public all the way from Circle to Independence Square when we are proposing to start just in front of Parliament House and end at the Central Bank? That's the shortest route.
All right.
And it won't take us long. And the routes we have chosen are very wide and broad. So they have no basis.
On Monday, I've seen that they have filed their process, filed their affidavit. You have also filed yours in opposition. So you go before a court and argue, and a court will make a determination. But let me bring in Amanda Clinton briefly on this. This is a constitutional right. Article 21, 1D says there should be, all persons have the right to freedom of assembly, including freedom to take part in processions and demonstrations. But these must be exercised within certain parameters and in respect for the rights of others. You don't agree with the police that they say we have security concerns, including that there's a wave of coups in Africa lately?
Well, I do think it's a stretch to sort of correlate the wave of coups to something that's going to spill over here, because we've never had a coup, and it seems the NDC are quite confident in taking this to the poll in a few years' time. So I do think that's the wrong argument to have. I do believe in freedom of assembly and expression, and perhaps not couching the law to fit the circumstance in terms of, I mean, I very much understand the police is relying on the fact that, you know, public order, public safety, the running of essential services, etc. But as the gentleman who just spoke has said, these routes have been used time and time again by the same people, and we cannot use the law to sort of skewer circumstances in ways that we would prefer. So it's for the NDC lawyers to counter the basis of the injunction application, and perhaps to not say that they're going to embark on this and nothing will stop them. I think it's better to uphold, you know, the public interest.
Yes, they haven't said they haven't said. Hello, Amanda Clinton.
Just relying on the facts.
Hello, they haven't said that they will go ahead. So they are actually going to court to make the argument that these are bogus claims that the police is making.
Yes, I know, but I think the deputy minority leader was quoted in the press as saying that, you know, it's going to be to uphold the public interest, etc. But I just think that we should decide to just deal with this with the law, deal with it with precedent, and the fact that you cannot use the law to circumvent, you know, like particular areas of the law to circumvent what the Constitution intended when we're talking about freedom of assembly and freedom of expression. And these are routes that have been used. And I just think it's a poor argument to say, you know, let's choose the route for them. It's a bad precedent to keep setting by the police.
All right. Osman Al-Hassan, what's your take on this briefly? The police are simply doing what the law says they have the right to do, isn't it? Okay. Hello, Mary. What do you say about this?
Sorry, good morning, Samson. And not to be repetitive, I believe that what the previous speakers have said is right. I also believe that if there is no cause for alarm, the police should not be putting impediments in the way of the citizens from expressing their constitutional rights. I say so because people, if you do that, the tendency for people to then feel their rights are being suppressed and then also take other routes is likely. We need to be careful in these times that we find ourselves, particularly because of some of the examples Honorable Ayariga is citing as their excuse, to ensure that since the people trust government and since the people trust in their institutions, and they are just going ahead to demonstrate, to show some reservations on what has happened, which they believe should not. And particularly in this instance, that the governor should be compelled to resign. It's a constitutional right for the party. And I believe the party is made up of the citizens. So we should not be seen to be curtailing their rights, citing some examples which are not in our context. And particularly, we say that there is, if there is no smoke, certainly we shouldn't be creating any fire. I don't think there is a need for it.
What do you say, Richard? That one of the concerns is that it's becoming the ritual. You want to organize a demonstration or a protest, a picket or whatever it is, and the police say, march to Independence Square. If it's the Auditor General, will ask him to come meet you there and take your speech or your petition.
Well, thank you, Samson. I think it's a conversation that we have to look at. Does that necessarily violate the spirit and the right for people to demonstrate? The decision to allocate a place, I think that we should look at it objectively.
Other than your choice, how would you feel if you wanted to demonstrate your grievance, for example, to the Electoral Commission? And I remember Let My Vote Count. You know, they had to go to the Electoral Commission's premises. Then the police provided, you know, sufficient barricade, even though in the end, some people were hurt.
Yeah. So I think that the conversation should be looked at dispassionately, to say that the spirit, the essential spirit of demonstration is not hurt by saying go here. If that is a conversation, we should look at it. Now, the decision of the demonstrators to want to go to a particular destination and the position of the police saying that maybe it might be a security zone, and the headquarters, if you've been there recently, I think we all know where it's at, is a very crowded place. And so for me, and we're beginning to see an instance where the police is trying to manage the crowd situation and to prevent unforeseen situations happening.
The fact that it's already a crowded place, does it not defeat their arguments?
Well, you couldn't possibly avoid the organic crowd that is there, but this one you can prevent it, right? So that's really the logic there. But I think that if on whole, we are going to understand that, okay, well, for certain reasons, we can designate that Independence Square as the converging point for all demonstrations.
You'll be fine with that?
I'll be okay with it, but the only thing is that it has to be consistent. And in doing that, Samson, I think you agree with me, it doesn't take away the inherent value and right of citizens to demonstrate, but it is only helping the police manage the unintended outcomes of, you know, crowd coming together and possibilities of anything happening. And I think we should focus on that.
Okay. Osman, from where you sit as a lawyer, nothing is lost, like Richard is saying. If you don't get to use the routes you want, and if you don't get to assemble at the place that you prefer. And I was having conversation with other lawyers, and the examples kept coming elsewhere. Their presidential palaces are the sign, the place where demonstrations are actually held. In the White House, we know often that is where people head to. But that is them. We can decide otherwise. Please unmute your mic.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yes. I think after listening, I think we are refusing to see the unity of the purpose of the demonstration and the demonstration itself. You see, and more so, it is not just the right to demonstrate that is being exercised, that's being restricted here. It is also the freedom of movement. Because if you restrict me to a particular place because I am demonstrating, then it is also a restriction of a freedom of movement. Now, apart from restricting me to unify the purpose of my demonstration and the target of my demonstration, you have also asked me not to move beyond a certain point. And to restrict that movement must have a justification. Samson, if suppose that it was not even a demonstration, and you restrict a mass or group of people to a certain space and say they shouldn't move beyond that space, what is that? Now, if you do so, and your reason is that the place the people want to go is rather a place or a security zone. You know, they do these things because there are some restrictions, there are some limitations within the Constitution that is supposed to regulate the exercise of rights. We agree. And national security is one of them. But you see, if all of a sudden a place people have been moving in and out, and people, they say organic presence, people are organically present at a place without any security implication. Now, you say those who are there can be there, but we cannot come there because we want to demonstrate a certain plight to an authority that should listen to us. Then it defeats, as someone actually, as you are rightly acknowledge, it defeats the purpose of the restriction. If actually the restriction is because of security reasons, because why would the place become suddenly a security zone? Security zones must be known. They must be known prior to any action, to any demonstration. They must be known that this is a security zone that we don't want people to move to. But if people are moving in and out, and it's not compromising any security measure, then what is the reason for saying the demonstrating mass should not move to that place? And I think we should situate this conversation in a special context. You see, Samson, if you ask me, this is the time people must be allowed to vent their spleen. This is the most relevant time for the citizenry to be allowed to express themselves however they want to express it, because the consequence of that failure might be worse than what they are preventing. And so, for me, I don't think it is in the place of the police even to determine that this is security zone. And so I think we should look at it again.
All right, thank you very much, Osman Alhassan, and before him you heard Richard Ahiagba, who is Communications Director of the New Patriotic Party.